so long. It's just, the Korean reading today is Sura 44. It's titled Haze, which in Arabic is listed as Dukhan. And literally they said it was smoking. So when I tried to figure out why it was called that, it said it has to do with processing disbelief and Judgment Day, how there's often an attack and there's some kind of smoking or a form of lightning. And then the main message is that we're to revive or rejuvenate faith, inspire it, and we're made to do that. So I'm going to start with a prayer. Oh, I seek refuge in you from the difficulties of hardships and the acquisition of wretchedness or ill faith, and an enemy's malicious rejoicing for my suffering. That was actually a prayer made by Dukhan, number 6347. So I'm just going to read the notes I took on this section. In the first verses, we sent down a warning against evil. And it says, wisdom is ordained. In verse 16 it says, disbelief will surely receive punishment. In verse 20, belief should not be stoned to death. In verse 22, when a believer cries, these are wicked people, that's when disbelief is processed. In verse 29 it says, don't weep for them nor delay their determination. In verse 29, their fate. Verse 30, you delivered Israel from humiliating torment. And it was referring to Pharaoh, who was an atheist leader. In verse 32, it says that they chose Jewish people. And it was, again, because of belief in one God. In verse 35, it says, disbelievers say things like, there's nothing beyond death, that you're never resurrected. In verse 37, disbelief, Muslims can destroy a whole bunch of people at one time if they're wicked. In verse 38, if there's no God, then who or what did create everything is really complex. And in verse 39 is where it says each believer is created for a purpose. In verse 41 that no one can save those once they're condemned. In verse 42 it says except Allah. In verse 43 it talks about what is a ZAQQUM tree. When I looked that up, it said it's just a made-up tree that has to do with immorality. When I looked into it, and in verse 47 to 48, the punishment is usually burning. So I guess that explains this title, haze or smoke. In verse 41, it says, the righteous will be in a secure place. In verse 56, that they'll never face death.